Hey everybody, Ryan Doyle at the Verdigris table, where I'm about to have several conversations with all of the players in all of my groups at all of my tables. So I figure a lot of people are going to be having this conversation. So I'm going to record a quick video here to make it easier. I mean, one, for everyone to understand what's happening, and two, for dungeon masters to maybe just send this along to their players. Um, there's some big changes that are coming. We all know it, but how it's going to affect D&D Beyond specifically has become more clear. So we're going to dive into this. And here we go. This is the change log. What's going on between July and September 2024 of the quarter where the 2024 Player's Handbook is coming out. And like it or hate it, most players are using D&D Beyond to, at the very least, build their character sheet. And a lot of players, at least in my tables, are running the whole game off of this website. The official D&D tool set, which is going to go through some changes. And a lot of us are figuring out how we're going to navigate this transitional phase, especially when there's new player options, but not new monsters or adventures or Dungeon Master's Guide. So it's going to be a little bit weird for everyone, and it's going to get a little bit weirder if we're running things off of D&D Beyond. They are taking things that were in the 2014 rulebook and they are updating them. Right? Seems pretty obvious. They have been talking about using a legacy tag to demarcate the old version of versus the new version of a lot of these things. However, there's going to be a full replacement for several categories of pivotal features to the game where the old one is just going to be gone. And again, I know that's going to upset a lot of people. I'm not exactly excited about it, but you can't change it. So let's dive into what's actually happening and then what you can do about it. So in here, they're talking about what exactly is going to be marked as legacy. What's going to be available to you or your players when you go into D&D Beyond from the 2014 core rule books, right? Classes, subclasses, subclasses that have a new version in the 2024 handbook, or this is what's labeled as legacy. So classes, subclasses, species, backgrounds, feats, and monsters. And we'll see about monsters because this is just this quarter before the new monster book comes out. So the old versions of those that are being replaced will be tagged with legacy things, still be available to you as long as you have, shelled out the money to have access to those things in the first place. There's some wiggly, interesting exceptions to that, but in general, if it's not in the basic rules and you haven't bought it, you don't get it. Now, that we kind of knew that, more or less. We knew how those things were going down. I'm still not exactly sure how it's going to feel in gameplay, how much confusion there's going to be at the table when I'm talking about, a 2024 version and you're talking about a 2014 version of a feat, and someone's getting cutesy in the corner and mixing and matching both to min max out some abomination. We'll wait and see. I'm sure that's all coming. But what we know for sure today is happening is that straight up things are being updated. There's no way to access the 2014 version of core gameplay definitions, and that covers a lot of things. They're changing the name of inspiration off the top of my head, and maybe a little bit of the way it works. Heroic inspiration is going to be the only inspiration. Armor class, saving throws, skills and abilities, alignment, senses, and area of effect definitions. Now, area of effect definitions, I think, are going to be super impactful in ways I'm going to feel out. Maybe it looks worse on paper, but the way Fireball is figured out on the map is going to change. Whether or not you decide to change it at your table, okay, different question. But what D&D Beyond is going to say, only one definitive way, is the new version of area of effect. And aside from a few exceptions, all entries for mundane and magical items, weapons, armor, and spells will also be updated to their 2024 version. Every weapon, every piece of armor, every spell. Now, I think spells is going to be the key one here. I don't think there's a ton of people who are going to be upset about getting the new cool things that martial weapons are doing. I don't love the fact that I'm not going to be able to access the old definition of these things. But if you drill down on the spell aspect of this, every spell that's being updated is going to be changed for everyone. Like it doesn't matter if you have already purchased the 2014 Player's Handbook in the D&D Beyond service. Everything in there is going to be updated. Spell Dolly's mining for gold. Sorry about that. Everything up there is going to be the new version. Also nets are going to change. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's an exception to the rule. Several spells like Feeble Mind, they're changing to Befuddlement, which I get. Something like that will be there until you take it off your character sheet, until you unprepare it, right? And then it's gone. You can't get back to that. So that's the long and the short of it. There's a little more nuance to it all, but I think the big takeaway is that if you want to hold on to the old version of the game, you need this. You need a physical copy of the book. And if you don't have this, now's the time. There's a link down below to get the cheapest version of this available. I'm a big fan of supporting your friendly local neighborhood game shop, but for half the price of the new book, you can go get this down below in a way that supports the vertigo table a tiny bit with no cost to you. Please and thank you. But this ain't going to be around much longer, and no one's coming to change the contents of this. They're not sending the Pinkertons down to your bookshelf to alter the definitions of the spells and the magic items and the weapons in the book. So if you or your players are reluctant to transition to the new version of D&D, D&D Beyond is no longer going to be a reliable resource for you. What you can do, and I was going to mention this anyway, but they talk about it in the article, you can go in to the homebrew side of things and manually enter just about anything. We've all probably done it before with a subclass we didn't want to buy a la carte or something. I've done it. It takes a lot of work. I don't think it's worth the payoff usually, but you can do that. Those things that are entered into homebrew that are too close or exactly matching, copyrighted material by Wizards of the Coast are not going to be shareable, maybe within your own campaign. But you can't go find somebody else's version of whatever, Feeble Mind, for instance. You're going to have to manually, at least at best, copy and paste that stuff into homebrew, enable homebrew in your character sheet, and then launch it into D&D Beyond. And there's a lot of fields to get the functionality going. So, long story short, think about what you want going forward. And if it's not whatever Wizards of the Coast decides is happening now or coming next, you want a physical book. Again, assuming you want to play this game still. There's a bunch of other games. We can argue which ones are better, which ones are worse. It's all subjective at the end of the day, really. Except for some objective things that, like, certain games are doing better. Come at me in the comments. Ensure that you have everything you need to play the game that you want to. Because, you don't own this. Even if you bought the 2024 Player's Handbook, even if you pre-ordered the 2024 Player's Handbook, at some point in time in the future, your ability to access that through D&D Beyond is going to go away. I mean, maybe Hasbro decides it's no longer in their best interest monetarily to allow you to access that. Maybe the power goes out. Maybe somebody hacks their servers because they're upset about some rule change or something. A lot of things can happen. If it's not on your computer or physically in your hand, you don't own a thing. And we can get into weird philosophical territory about what ownership even means, but a digital product that someone can take away from you is not yours. You are just paying for the privilege of benefit of accessing it for a while. And the people who really own it can change it. Love it or hate it, that's the deal. Buy books. Support your friendly local game shop and your friendly local bookstore, if you still have one. Thanks, everybody. We're going to talk about this a lot tomorrow on Casual Friday, so go check out Jim and Phil Kearney's going to sit in with us because Brad's on vacation. We're going to dive deep into the implications of all of this, but send this one around, show it to your players, let everybody know what to expect going forward. Be kind, have fun, don't stress too much. You don't need D&D Beyond. You don't need corporate overlords to sit down at the table with your friends or your family and play a TTRPG and have an amazing time doing it. Thanks again.